This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and so glad that you tuned in today. We've been working on a series called Cultivating the Seed of Your Idea. And this is something that's become bigger and more meaningful to me than I imagined. I'm really glad that you tuned in. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're having some good, positive, and fun thoughts coming in during this still pandemic season that we're having. This is certainly an odd time to be alive, about the oddest I've ever had. And something that my wife and I have been doing that's been very enjoyable, and it's teaching me a lot. I'm learning so much from it, is gardening. At first, it was just kind of a relief from all of the pandemic stuff, and we've had a lot of losses in our families, including my mom. In the past 6 weeks, we've lost 3 family members, and it was initially just kind of a nice, positive, enjoyable escape to get out to the garden and plant some flowers and watch them grow and bloom. But as I learned more about it, because my wife she's taken many master gardening courses, and she's very good at this, and she's been teaching me a lot about effective gardening. The more we've gotten into this, the more I've learned that's so applicable to our lives. We grow, our ideas grow, plants grow, and there's so many parallels between all of them. And the one today is one that it took me a little while to catch on to. I've been definitely slow on the uptake on this one, and she's been trying to convince me, and I've been resistant, but now I'm really beginning to see the value of it. And this is on prepping the soil. And she tells me that every master gardener, when they set out to grow a beautiful garden, the first thing that they do is they work on the soil. And that's completely the opposite to how I've been. I just wanted to put a bunch of pretty flowers in and just have a really attractive garden on the surface. And so often that's the way it is in our life, where we can easily get really caught up in what's obvious, what's apparent, wanting to look good, wanting to make a good impression, wanting to get to this or that state or the other. And we can put a lot of emphasis on that and in trying to arrange things so that they look like we want them to. But what I've been learning is that when we're doing that in a garden, and now I'm seeing the application in our lives, it's all about prepping the soil. We can have the best seed in the world, and it is never going to reach its potential. It's got that DNA. It wants to grow. It wants to bloom. It wants to thrive. It wants to reproduce. But it's never going to be able to do that or at all if it's not in good soil. And I thought, wow, it's all of this infrastructure that's happening in the unseen realm that gives rise and birth to all the beauty and the fruitfulness and even the food that comes from it, depending on the plant type, in the seen realm. And this is powerful. For example, a couple of years ago, we bought an Asian moon butterfly bush. And it was big, and it was robust, and it was beautiful. And we love butterflies and pollinators, and we try to help them both for our own enjoyment and for the good that they do for all other plant life and us by helping produce our food. So we like to help out the pollinators. So we bought this big Asian moon butterfly bush, and it has these beautiful lilac blooms, and it's one of the only butterfly bushes that has a fragrance. It has a beautiful fragrance to it. And we were so excited, and we went and we found this great spot in our garden, and we put it in there, and we would come back looking for it to grow and expand. And what we would notice is a big, healthy stalk of it would be shriveled up. And we're like, what in the world? So we're like, okay, well, we got a lot of the rest of the bush. We've cut that stalk off because we don't want dead wood hanging around because that attracts pests. So we would cut that off. And then, not too long later, there'd be another branch shriveled up. And we're like, what is going on with this butterfly bush? It says that they're hardy. It says that they're drought resistant once they get established. It's supposed to be this pretty much carefree butterfly bush. And this went on for a couple of years till we had almost cut the whole thing back to the ground. It was just this little bit of the bush left, and it looked like it was struggling, and we really thought we were going to lose it. So my wife started digging around it and into the soil. And what she discovered was that there were grubs underneath the butterfly bush, and they were eating their roots. So this big, beautiful bush on the surface had these little insects that were devouring the roots and hindering its ability to take up the good nutrients because we had good soil. And that's why we just couldn't understand it. And so now we've killed off the grubs and amended the soil, put some more fertilizer and nutrients in the soil, and now the bush is starting to grow back. And we have pretty high hopes for it now. But we thought, wow, what was going on underneath the surface that was not visible to the eye, that had us confused for so long, was causing there to be poor growth on the top. It was the butterfly bush was in not bad soil, but soil that was infested with predators. And it can be the same if it's bad soil. A lot of soils just aren't what the plants need. Different plants like different types of soil. And if that good plant is in the wrong soil, it's not going to grow. And it's not going to bloom. And it's not going to be what you want it to be and hope for it to be on the top. Now, this reminds me of a story I heard some time ago. There was some years back, there was a young girl who was just not doing well in school. She was inattentive. She was disruptive. She was always engaged in something other than her classwork, right? Sound familiar to anybody? So many of us. I was always looking out the window. I always wanted to see what was out there. I wasn't really that interested in what was going on inside the classroom. But I'm not that kind of a learner. But this young girl was really struggling, and they thought maybe she had an intellectual disability, or maybe something, she had a condition. So they took her to the doctor to try to find out what was going on with her. And the doctor, after talking to her mother and her for a little bit, said to her mom, said, "Hey, come with me for a minute. I want to share something with you." But before they left the room, he put on some music, and then he took the mother out, and they went back into another room that was adjacent, where there was a one-way mirror, and they could see the girl with the music on, and she was dancing all over the room. And the doctor said to the mother, they said, "There's nothing wrong with your daughter. She's not a bad student. She's a dancer. That's what makes her flourish." She was in the wrong soil. It wasn't in anything that was a soil that she could identify with and get what she needed from to become her best. So they took her, mother took her to a dance school. And this young girl would later say, the moment we walked in the door, it was the first time I ever felt at home in my life. She was with her people. She was in the right soil. She was around others that she could gain from and take in and develop and flourish. She started a very famous dance school over in England, and she went on to choreograph both Cats and Phantom of the Opera. This young girl's name was Gillian Lynn, and even if people don't know her name, they know her work all around the world. And she's gone on to influence many, many people because somebody was wise enough to put her in the right soil, to see what kind of plant she was and what she needed to grow. And, everybody doesn't grow in the same kind of soil. And we need to be wise on that and find out, what do we need? The roots of a plant are very amazing things. They will actually seek out the nutrients that they need. Beats me how they sense it. But that root will, if there's a nutrient pocket in the soil, the roots of that plant will seek it. And when they get to it, they will stop growing until they absorb what's there to absorb. My wife and I watched a documentary on this the other night that actually showed the roots growing, and they got to some nutrients that had been placed in the soil. And when they got there, they stopped. You could see them growing, got to the nutrients, stop. So this is very important to understand. So I want to give you a few other tips on amending the soil, because it's very important to be bringing those right things in, to be learning and growing. And our soil, it's like our environment. It's the people who are around us. It's the family we grow up in. It's what we read. It's what we watch. It's what we listen to. It's what we're feeding on. And our soil, our environment, has to have those right things to help us feed, right? And so just because we may have been planted in bad soil and aren't, we're not looking like what we hoped our lives would look like on the outside. We're not getting the blooms that we wanted. We're not growing as quickly as we wanted. It's easy to think, wow, there's something wrong with me. Oh, what's wrong with me? Nothing doesn't mean there's a thing in the world wrong with you. What it very well might mean is that you were planted in the wrong. You're not in the soil. You're not in the environment that has what you need to grow and to bloom and to flourish. And here's the beauty of it is, unlike that, we're not just stuck there. We can move ourselves, right? We can put different thoughts in. We can put different beliefs in. We can be around people who are growing and who are moving forward. We've got so many resources these days. We've got podcasts, we've got books, we've got we've got TED Talk. There are all sorts of resources for us. And if we're in one group and we're just not thriving and it's just not right, the people we're around, they're not growing. We can choose to be around other people. We can look around and find the people who are and be around them. So the gardener's job and the leader's job, if you're leading other people, and we're all leading somebody, ourselves included, and we all have influence on somebody, which is what leadership is. Our job is to find out what they need. If my plant isn't doing well, I don't just sit there and yell at the plant, oh, you bad plant. No, the plant has the DNA to grow and bloom and flourish. But what does it need? Does it not have the right water? Does it not have the right nutrients? Is it not the right type of soil? Does it not have the right light? It's my job as the gardener to find out what that plant needs and to provide it to the best of my ability so that my plant can flourish. That's why they have those little tags on the back of plants when you go to the garden shop, and it tells you how much light it likes. It tells you how much water it likes. It tells you what temperature. And, should I put it in the shades? Should I put it in the sun? It's so important to know those things because without those conditions, the plant's not going to do well. And if it's not doing well, again, nothing wrong with the plant, nothing wrong with you. If you're stuck on something, the issue is you just don't have the right environment. You haven't come across the people with the right thinking. You haven't come across the right beliefs yet. You haven't come across the right nutrients for you. So, and as a leader's job, it's our job to figure that out. And there's an ancient proverb from King Solomon, and it says, if you train up a child in the way he should go, when he's older, he's not going to leave it. He's not going to struggle so much. He's not going to be all over the place. And it's interesting, excuse me, that word, that phrase, in the way he should go, what that really refers to is his bent. His bent. What makes him unique? Just like Gillian Lynn, what made her unique? She was a dancer. And when they trained her according to her unique bent, her unique form, when they trained her according to that, she did unbelievably well and brought great things to the world. So that's literally what this is saying. It's been around for a long time. Find out if it's a child that you're rearing, if it's yourself, if it's another person, if it's your team, find out what makes those people tick. Find out what's unique about them. This is the Hebrew word. I think it's no, it's not midbar. Sorry, I lost the word, but the Hebrew word refers to this. It's the course of a river. A river has this unique shape, this unique bent, this unique curve to it, and or it refers to an archer's bow. When they bend that bow to string it so that they can shoot an arrow, it's the bent of the bow, the bent of the river, and every single one of us have a set of circumstances in which we thrive. And it's our job for ourselves and anybody else that we're influencing and leading to find out what that bent is. Just like we find it out about a flower and then put it in the right conditions, we need to find out what that bent of that person is and put them in the right conditions. And it can be amazing, the difference. We've taken flowers that were languishing and then transplanted them, put them in a different place, and all of a sudden, all these blooms that weren't had before.